Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, September 25th, 2015, the WNW 209. And on his visit to the U.S., the Pope is acting more like a radical left-wing politician than he is, the messenger of God, of Christ. He has scolded the U.S. Congress on everything from immigration to climate change, and here he is with President Obama. I mean, of course, they love the Pope because he's an ultra left-wing liberal. He says he had to announce he's not a leftist. Oh, really? You're not a leftist? Really? All of his policies are far left-wing, lefty stuff, and he's scolding Congress, mostly the Republicans, over, climate change, and said, we have to do something about climate change. He's not a scientist. I don't understand how he's even weighing in on something like the politics of climate change, but he is. Also, that all these immigrants, basically he's advocating open borders. Just let them all in. Who's going to pay for that? He also talking about the telling the bishops that they did such a great job, such a wonderful job on all this. I had something I wanted to read to you about that. The bishops they had courage and they really handled the situation with the pedophile priest thing, so wonderful. Which is why I left the Catholic religion. I'm a Catholic, former Catholic, still a Christian, but I left the Catholic religion. And he was talking about how wonderful that they were. But here's what the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, that's the name, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, say about the courage of the bishops. And they said that the bishops displayed, quote, cowardice and callousness in response to victims that came forward. This is an AP story. Also, the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests says that they hid behind expensive lawyers and public relations professionals. And let me read you this, because the Pope says, we need to make sure that this crime never happens again. Let me tell you what the biggest crime was. The cover-up that went all the way to the Vatican, because it helped perpetuate an evil a crime perpetrated on children all over archdioceses in America. Evil. And let me tell you what happened in 2011. A grand jury accused Archbishop, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, of keeping about 36 guilty priests in parishes around the Philadelphia area. That's your way to stop this crime? Not punish any of the perpetrators and keep the priests that committed heinous acts against little boys? And, the Pope wants to put this behind him. He doesn't want to talk about this. And another thing I wanted to tell you, and I want to say it again, I'm a former Catholic. I have no problem with Catholics. I have no problem with the major tenets of Catholicism, the doctrine of Catholicism. And let me point this out to you. I want to point this out to you because it'll make sense to you when I get finished. Here are the five major tenets, the five major pillars of the Catholic doctrine, which I agree with all of them, by the way. Christ was the Son of God, born of the Virgin Mary. Christ was born of the Virgin Mary. Christ died on the cross, made a blood sacrifice to basically wash away our sins, the sins of the world. He rose again on the third day, and Christ will come again to judge the living and the dead. Christ is in all five pillars of the Catholic doctrine. I believe in all those. Any Christian would. And here's one thing I've noticed. I've looked at all kinds of quotes, all the coverage. The Pope has not mentioned Jesus Christ's name not one time that I could see. He mentioned God. Here's one for you. He mentioned love. Here's one for you when talking about the bishops, that he urged bishops to find ways to reach people, quote, with the power and closeness of love. Really? The power and closeness of love? Not the power of Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior? Not a single mention of Christ. Let me tell you, let's go back to olden days with Simon Peter, where Christ said, upon this rock I'll build my church. That's kind of the forerunner of the Pope. Christ to Simon Peter, the Pope, upon this rock. The Pope is supposedly the rock, right? Upon this rock I'll build my... Not a single reference to Christ. Climate change, love, God, immigration, rattling the cage of the Republicans. Not a single word about Christ. Now, either he just forgot about Jesus Christ, which is the basis of Catholicism and Christianity, but he just must have forgot about that. Or maybe if you want to institute a one-world religion, you can't bring up God the Father and Jesus Christ. You just have to have one God, like we're all praying to the same God. Not God the Father and Christ his Son. Not mentioning Jesus Christ is too stupid to be stupid. Think on that. And again, let me tell you, I have no problem with Catholicism or Catholics or the Catholic Doctrine. I agree with that. He doesn't even mention it. I got some tips for the Pope. In terms of immigration, you can allow maybe 400, 500, 600 people to come and live in Vatican City. That's your own country of which you are in charge. You are the head of Vatican City. You don't have a Congress. You don't have to, legal wrangling or any of that. The other thing, the Pope talks about helping the poor. I agree. And the Catholic Church has vast wealth. Did you know the Catholic Church is one of the biggest landholders in the world? They have gold. They have stocks. They have bonds, cash, bank accounts. Hey, maybe the Pope can, maybe give up 20, 30, 40, 50% of the wealth that the Catholic Church has and help the poor and help those immigrants. I mean, after all, Christ didn't even own the donkey he rode into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. Christ didn't have a house. He didn't have any money. Didn't have any bank accounts. No gold. Nothing. He didn't even own the donkey he rode into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. And the Pope doesn't even mention Christ? That's outrageous. He's more of a left-wing wacko political figure than a messenger of Christ. Means he's not even mentioning his name. The other big visitor is Xi Jinping, the president of China, and he inked some big deals. And he didn't go to Washington first. He went to Washington State. Of course, he inked a big deal with Boeing to buy 300 aircraft. He also basically demanded the top tech titans to come up to Seattle for a meeting. And he did it under a veiled threat of, increased government scrutiny of companies doing business in China. So everybody showed up. It was a command performance. It wasn't would you like to come? It was you need to come. It's odd, right? His first visit isn't to Washington. I know the Pope's in town and all that, and the president's, a little tied up with that with his, left-wing liberal Catholic buddy. But he first stopped Washington State. And then he inks a deal with Boeing to buy 300 aircraft. Now, the other big thing is cybersecurity. And, of course, Xi Jinping says that, hey, China is a victim of cybersecurity as well. This is the big story in the newspaper. But this has been a big source of consternation and divide between the U.S. and China. I remember one of the many hacks was, that the federal government was hacked, and more than 20 million federal employees' names and data was hacked by Chinese. Now, it doesn't mean it's the Chinese government, but that's the story. And, of course, China says they're a victim of hacking, too, which I think is a veiled, well, you're doing it, too, to the United States. You think the CIA and the NSA is trying to hack into China? Take a look at their weapon systems, see how far they are. I think cyber warfare is the warfare of today. And that's what I think he was saying. We're victims, too. The Obama administration is talking about sanctions against China. Of course, I think it's not a coincidence that he inked a deal with buying 300 airplanes from Boeing. That's going to make sanctions kind of tough. It might unwind that deal. And, the Chinese need America, and the Americans need the Chinese. I mean, nobody's economy is doing well at all. And to cut off business and kill business is probably dumb. But that's one of the things that the Obama administration has been talking about, sanctions against China, and we shall see. Another thing, and my consultant, smart guy, he got a hold of me and said, hey, I got something to tell you. He said, did you hear about these widespread outages with all these big companies? He says, we're talking about Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, Skype, and Yahoo. These are all companies with huge redundant systems. And yet all of them this past week have had some sort of widespread outage, if not global outage. And I thought, isn't that strange? While the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, is in town, that all of a sudden these big tech titans have all these, problems. And maybe it has nothing to do with China. Maybe it just happens to be while he's in town. So if there's a financial calamity, a big meltdown, that might be, some type of an attack, a cyber attack, and that they could point back to, oh, look at all these companies that went down. But it's awful bizarre to be a coincidence. It's like my consultant says, it's like having 10 houses on the street and 8 of them get broken into and have their doors kicked in, and the police come along and say, oh, that's just a coincidence that all these houses were robbed in the same night. That's just a coincidence. And so I just think it's bizarre that companies decide, Facebook, global outages, Netflix, Amazon, Skype, Yahoo, all had some sort of outage this week, and these guys have all kinds of redundant systems, and they all went down. And wouldn't that be some sort of a little precursor to some sort of cyber attack that shuts the banks down in the financial system, right? Just something to think about. I have no idea if the Chinese did it or didn't do it, or if the NSA did it or didn't do it, or maybe it's just one big coincidence. My consultant, who's a smart guy, been in the business since he was a young guy, says it's to me it's beyond coincidence, but he doesn't quite can't make out what exactly it means. But all of them going down this past week, that's a statement of fact. Just something for you to noodle on. Russia is ramping up its presence in Syria. They're going after ISIS for real. Not the fake going after ISIS like the United States has been doing. The Congress appropriated, $500 million to train fighters, and they trained like 5. 5. The number after 4 and before 6. 5 fighters. It cost $41 million. I don't know where the other money will end up, or if we'll ever get it back, or who knows where it'll go, or whose pocket will end up in. But our fight against ISIS is a complete and total disaster. I mean, that's pretty safe to say. Well, with Russia, they're moving tanks and possibly troops and aircraft and naval assets to Tartus, and they look like they're going to do it for real. And of course, they have the help of Iran. We just cut that deal with, that nuclear deal, and also Hezbollah, the terror group. And I say the fun begins after they knock out ISIS. I think they're going to knock them out. It might take them a while, but I think they're going to knock them out. And after they do, then what? Then what? Who knows? But there's also word that China may be helping out in some way. They're sending one of their naval ships, allegedly, through the Suez Canal, and they may also be up there. But wow, whoo, boy. The Russians and the Iranians are serious about going after ISIS, and they're not going to fly 5 sorties a day to bomb them. It might be 5,000 sorties a day. Who knows? But they're going after them. And to me, this is a big checkmate to the Obama administration. What does he say? Oh, no. Don't kill ISIS. Kill ISIS, but not really bad. I mean, what? Huh? We've had this lame brain policy against ISIS that I think was designed to fail. Even the president slipped up and said, oh, we're just going to contain them. Go after them. So looks like the Russians are going to go after them for real. And I think they're likely to be successful. So to me, it's a checkmate policy. I mean, what does the Obama administration do? Checkmate. Russia's going to go after them. What are they going to do? Hillary Clinton's email troubles have just been really ramped up. I think they've hit critical condition. Remember that server that she gave to the FBI that supposedly was wiped clean? Well, maybe it wasn't wiped so well, because the reports are now that the FBI has gotten all, if not most, of the more than 30,000 emails contained on that server. Whew, let that sink in. The FBI has control of that server and has recovered the more than 30,000 emails that Hillary Clinton said were, about yoga, Chelsea's wedding, some personal stuff. 30,000 emails? I find that hard to believe. This is the same server she used exclusively while she was Secretary of State. You've had the reports about the confidential documents on there, classified documents, top secret documents, that some of these documents ended up on Google servers. It was in a closet. The server was in somebody's bathroom out in Colorado, and maintained. The person that maintained it now, is pleading the fifth, but wants immunity to testify. And now we have the emails. And the legal implications on multiple levels, I mean, there's obstruction of justice, there's lying to Congress, there is ignoring, a subpoena, for evidence. There is, the possible evidence in these emails that may expose the Clinton Foundation for the bribery scheme that many say it is. The Benghazi, the myriad of public relations and flat out felony legal troubles by her and the people surrounding her. And I'm sure she'll throw everybody attached to this under the bus to save her soul, to save her hide. But the legal troubles are stupefying to me. I mean, the cornucopia of legal problems for her, most of which are all felonies, punishable by imprisonment and fines. I would be sad if some 25-year-old ended up getting, having to spend the next 25 years in jail because they laid a hand on that server, and Hillary said, I didn't know what was going on. It was, Billy Bob there that did all this. I don't know. But I said months and months ago, when Hillary Clinton was the only Democratic candidate and she was beating every Republican, no matter who it was, I said months ago she won't be president. She's going to have scandals, she's going to have problems, and it'll be the Democrats that basically put the kibosh on her presidential run. There's also, the guy that wrote Blood Feud, Ed Klein, I believe his name is. He's coming out with a new book, and he says that she's sick, that she's got health problems. Is that going to be what saves her bacon? Oh, I'm so sick you can't prosecute me. I don't know. But I tell you, he was the same guy that wrote the book Blood Feud that, documented the severe hatred between the Clintons and the Obamas. Clintons and Obamas hate each other. They hate each other. Hatfields and McCoys, they hate each other. And my premise has long been, listen, President Obama he's the one that released this thing about the server, and the Clinton Foundations came out of his White House, Jav Allinger. There's no way he lets her become president and control the Justice Department and the IRS and interrupt his little Hawaii vacation, his Hawaii, post-presidential retirement where he makes tons of money. No way. And there's no way she's going to be president. I'm sorry. Otherwise, why would Joe Biden, the vice president, be in the race? That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for your support, your comments. Smartest people on the internet. We always have people around the world, giving us little reporting and little, field reporting, which I love it when people say, hey, this is what happened in my town or my area or whatever. Also, thank you for the people that make donations. That helps us out. I'm Greg Hunter. Remember, fear not. Prepare yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. God the Father and Jesus Christ are in charge. Fear not.